You wouldn't think this quiet island, with its cobblestone streets, sleepy harbors and summer tourists, is the front line of a potential European war. But Gotland, a peaceful outpost in the middle of the Baltic Sea, has become NATO's biggest anxiety. Just 200 miles from Russian territory, Gotland's serene facade is vanishing. Troops now patrol its forests. Armored vehicles rumble past medieval ruins. The echoes of war games drown out the gulls. This isn't just a drill, it's a message. Sweden is no longer neutral. So why here? Why now? Because Gotland is no ordinary island. Whoever holds it controls one of the most critical arteries of Europe, the Baltic Sea. If war erupts between Russia and NATO, this may be the first land to fall, or the first line of defense. The war in Ukraine, combined with a string of mysterious undersea sabotage attacks, has shaken Sweden to its core. After more than 200 years of neutrality, the nation made a historic move, joining NATO and preparing for the unthinkable. On Gotland, the shift is impossible to miss. Conscription has returned. Bomb shelters from the Cold War are being refurbished. Every month, new recruits arrive for training. Residents who once worried about ferry schedules now check emergency preparedness guides. A young soldier I met here said something that stuck with me. It's calm right now, but calm doesn't last forever. Not with Russia so close. So, what triggered this transformation? What changed Sweden's mind after centuries of peace? What are the soldiers here actually preparing for? And most importantly, what happens if they're right? For more than 2 centuries, Sweden stayed out of global alliances. Through 2 world wars and the Cold War, it charted its own course, neutral, independent and proud of it. That changed almost overnight. In 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. In Stockholm, the shock was immediate. Suddenly, neutrality didn't feel like safety. It felt like vulnerability. Sweden moved fast. It applied for NATO membership alongside Finland, and after months of tense negotiations and political hurdles, both were in. It wasn't just a change in policy, it was a turning point in history. On Gotland, the consequences are visible everywhere. This island had no permanent military presence a few years ago. Today, it's one of Sweden's most rapidly expanding defense zones. A military regiment decommissioned after the Cold War has now been fully revived with state-of-the-art upgrades and an influx of new soldiers. In 2020, there were 0 conscripts here. Now there are hundreds. Officials estimate that number could double again in the coming years, and the investment goes beyond boots on the ground. Sweden is funneling billions into defense. It's modernizing fighter jets, restoring coastal artillery, launching high-tech radar networks, and even reinforcing its cyber defenses. The goal? Be ready for any threat, air, land, sea, or digital. Civil defense is also making a comeback. Old bomb shelters are being inspected and upgraded. Public information campaigns are reminding citizens how to respond in case of attack. Something many Swedes never imagined they'd need again. Military officers are now holding town halls with residents, answering hard questions and explaining what's at stake. Some locals feel reassured, while others feel anxious, but almost everyone agrees. The era of Swedish neutrality is over. And what replaces it is still being written day by day, drill by drill. To understand why Gotland is at the heart of Sweden's military shift, you need to look at a map. This island may seem remote, but its location gives it outsized power. Sitting squarely in the middle of the Baltic Sea, Gotland is a natural fortress, an unsinkable aircraft carrier that could decide the fate of an entire region. From here, you can monitor everything: ship traffic, airspace, even undersea cables. If Russia wanted to dominate the Baltic, taking Gotland would be step one. If NATO wants to stop them, holding Gotland is non-negotiable. And just across the water, only 200 miles away, is Kaliningrad, a Russian military exclave bristling with weapons, jets, and missiles. It's one of the most militarized zones in Europe. Gotland sits directly across from it, eye to eye. Military planners know this. That's why, in the event of a broader conflict, many experts believe Russian troops would land on Gotland first, trying to seize control before NATO could react. The timing, speed, and surprise would be critical. If that happens, it would split the alliance. Baltic states like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania would be cut off from reinforcements. NATO would be forced to rely on a narrow land corridor between Poland and Lithuania, called the Suwałki Gap, a stretch of just 60 miles bordered by Russian forces on both sides. If both Gotland and the Suwałki Gap were taken, NATO's eastern flank would be isolated, vulnerable, and dangerously exposed. That's the nightmare scenario, and it's not just theoretical. Military exercises across the region are increasingly based on this exact chain of events. In those simulations, Gotland is always the first flashpoint. It's the domino that can't be allowed to fall. Sweden isn't just defending an island, it's guarding a gateway, one that could decide the future of the Baltic Sea, and perhaps the balance of power in Europe itself. At first glance, the base looks ordinary: rows of barracks, training fields, armored vehicles lined up like statues. But inside, the energy is intense. Recruits hustle between drills. Officers bark instructions. There's no mistaking the urgency here. This is one of Sweden's fastest-growing military regiments, and the transformation has been dramatic. Before 2018, this base didn't even exist. It had been shuttered for decades. Now it's a full-scale operation. Recruits arrive straight out of school, many having never held a weapon before. In just a few months, they're trained in combat tactics, survival scenarios, and crisis response under pressure. "We're not here to provoke anyone," one officer tells me. "We're here because we might have to defend this island." That's not just a line. The training here is designed for real war. Recruits practice amphibious defense, repelling sea landings, engaging airborne threats, and securing communication lines. Every exercise is built around one premise: Gotland could be invaded. No one names the adversary out loud, but everyone knows. The soldiers understand what's at stake. A young conscript told me quietly, "We hope we never have to use what we're learning, but we also know we might not get that choice." And the most important skill they're building, it's not marksmanship, it's control, staying calm under pressure, making decisions fast, keeping fear in check. The base is expanding so quickly that construction teams are in constant motion. Every time they finish a new dorm or mess hall, it's filled within days. More blueprints are already on the wall. For these troops, Gotland isn't just a station, it's their home. If the worst happens, they'll be the first to respond, and they're preparing for that reality with everything they've got. The fear of conflict on Gotland isn't new. It's a shadow that's lingered here for centuries. Long before radar systems and fighter jets, this island was already a military prize. The Vikings once ruled these shores, using Gotland as a base for trade and war. In the Middle Ages, German knights and Danish kings battled fiercely for control of its ports and trade routes. But one memory stands out above the rest. In 1808, Russian forces landed here. They took the island with barely a fight, occupying it for 3 tense weeks. Sweden eventually reclaimed it, but the invasion left a scar. A reminder that Gotland's geography is both a gift and a curse. That same strategic location that made it valuable in the age of sails makes it vital today in the age of missiles and cyber warfare. Locals haven't forgotten. Beneath the surface of calm, there's a collective memory. An understanding passed down through generations that this island has always been exposed to outside threats. That's why, even now, there's a quiet but growing acceptance. History doesn't just live in books here. It lives in the soil, and more often than not, it repeats itself. As tensions rise again, Gotland's past is starting to feel dangerously familiar. For the people who call Gotland home, the return of the military is both reassuring and unsettling. On one hand, it brings a sense of security. Residents know they're no longer defenseless. There's someone here to protect them if the worst happens. And in a world where nearby nations are under fire, that matters. But it's not that simple. Gotland thrives on peace. Its economy leans heavily on tourism. Visitors drawn to the island's quiet charm, scenic coastline, and slow pace of life. Now, locals hear machine gun fire during drills and watch tanks roll past cafes. Some are fine with it. Others feel like they're living in a different country now. The military has started holding town meetings, listening to concerns. People want to know, will training schedules disrupt schools? Will there be noise limits? What happens if there's an emergency? One resident told me, we support defense, of course, but we also moved here for peace and quiet. That balance feels harder to keep. It's a tension that runs through the island like a fault line, a place preparing for war while still trying to live in peace. And in that space between calm and conflict, people are learning how to adapt. Above ground, Gotland's militarization is visible, but some of the most unsettling threats are unfolding deep beneath the surface. Over the past 2 years, a string of mysterious incidents has rocked the Baltic Sea. Critical undersea cables, used for communication, power and internet, have been damaged or destroyed. In some cases, the sabotage was so precise, officials immediately suspected a state actor. All eyes turned toward Moscow. Though Russia denies involvement, many in the West remain unconvinced. the attacks have exposed a dangerous vulnerability. Much of Europe's critical infrastructure lies hidden underwater, unguarded and fragile. Gotland sits at the center of it all. From this island, NATO now monitors the Baltic's surface and depths. Surveillance systems scan for submarines, naval patrols run more frequently, and anti-submarine drills, once rare, are becoming routine. What's happening beneath the sea is being called a shadow war. A silent conflict with no headlines, no declarations, but very real consequences. For Sweden, joining NATO wasn't just about land defenses, it was about protecting the invisible lifelines beneath the water. Lifelines that keep economies running and could cripple entire nations if cut. And as more cables go dark, the message is clear. The battlefield is expanding, and it doesn't stop at the shoreline. The soldiers on Gotland say they hope their training is never used. But they're also clear-eyed hope isn't a strategy as long as war rages in Ukraine and tensions simmer across Eastern Europe. The island will remain on edge. And even if that war ends, the mistrust, fear and military build-up likely won't. Sweden is preparing for a long future in tension. Across the island, old Cold War bunkers are being inspected, emergency protocols are being updated, residents are quietly restocking supplies just in case. It's not panic, it's preparation. And beneath the uniform drills and geopolitical talk, there's something deeply human happening here. People are confronting a truth that's hard to face. Peace is not permanent, even in a country that believed it could stay out of history's wars. I spoke with a young soldier who said it best. Yeah, I get scared sometimes, but you learn when to feel the fear and when to push it away. Gotland is learning to live in that space, between calm and conflict, between past and future, between denial and readiness. Because while no one wants war, this island understands better than most. Not wanting it doesn't mean it won't come. Comment below your thoughts. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss upcoming videos. This is History Replay.